Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. We basically are discussing another topic that is city creation. And city creation basically, the topic is India account. In this basically India account, we are discussing three topics. That is, first is SBI Bank, second is Amazon, third is after 2 days the earthquake is in India. Basically, the big earthquake is going to happen. That how many people knows and how many people knows that what is the exact reason basically because news channel knows, but up to what level they knows basically that this is the reason behind earthquake. Bollywood group basically knows because they have to display everything basically. So for that basically Bollywood groups has created how many movies, how basically they represents everything basically we are going to display here. So first basically we will again come back to SBI Bank. SBI Bank basically say that basically we are getting controlled by set of groups. So in front of the world basically that is RBI group basically. That is the Reserve Bank of India. So do you think basically that whatever the in front of the world is basically there, so RBI group is controlling the SBI? I don't think basically. So in front of the world basically it is RBI basically. In front of the world basically it is RBI. But in real, basically, I don't think basically RBI group, RBI and Supreme Court group basically might be controlling because they might be controlling by somebody else. Because whatever the in front of the world basically is, na basically that all are wrong. That all are wrong basically. So one of the person told that who whatever basically whoever group basically might be controlling SBI. So what SBI basically they basically what they want basically from SBI. What actually they want. One of the person basically asked the question. So they basically because SBI know that basically Citibank is their customer. 100% they might be knowing na basically. They know that 50 lakh crore basically is getting deposited in the SBI bank. One day, Prime Minister expense basically is how much basically? One of the person told that it might be minimum in crores basically. That also basically 7 to 8 thousand crores minimum basically. So if tour basically happens, then basically it cross to 20 30,000 crore basically. So whatever basically we are not discussing that basically. So here we are discussing why what basically this all amount basically are deducted from where basically. Few people says that the India basically have the amount basically they will the world basically can't believe it basically. They basically have this banks amount. They basically have the tax amount. They basically have the GST amount, the restaurants, whatever amount basically getting deducted. So each and every areas basically tax is getting deducted. That are all amount basically they don't have. So if another person told that this all amount basically they have, but SBI basically knows up to what level. Few people says that basically whole world, entire India basically is controlled by SBI basically in front of the world. Few people says that many banks basically say that basically few products basically are coming directly from the headquarters, and headquarters basically are by default world banks basically. Headquarters basically are connected with world banks. So here what is the thing basically? Here basically we are discussing what basically? If by chance third world war will start, mostly basically it will not start because 30% means you can just imagine basically more than basically you can say 50, 60, 70, 80 crore people basically are in America basically. Indian people basically. So I don't think basically world war will start basically. If it will start, then basically who will shift basically the 70 80 crore to India basically, and India in Indian government basically are ready for that basically. Indian basically government can't control by one person basically job. For example, I am not getting job since many days. Then how basically government will control that 70 80 crore people basically? So that is also question. Basically, lots of people will after seeing this video basically they will say that basically you are correct. Yeah, Sunny basically 70 80 crore basically it's a huge number basically. If they can't give one small a single job basically to Sunil Nayak basically, then how they are going to control? They means SBI group basically. I'm telling you, SBI group की बात कर रहा हूँ. So one of the person told that SBI group basically has represented, or basically you can say doing the visualization, or basically you can say in front of the world basically. They have represented the Citibank, HDFC Bank, Bank of Baroda, Bank of Maharashtra as a subsidiary bank of SBI. In other language, basically, you can say SBI Bank basically have one account. In that account, basically, they have few entries basically of Citibank debit credit, Bank of Baroda debit credit, then Bank of India debit credit. In credit, basically, it's a 50 lakh crore. So all government expense, all basically the big level expense, all prime minister expense, all chief minister's expense, and then basically the big level expense like earthquake is not supposed to happen in Mumbai, tsunami is not supposed to happen. Then Himalaya basically the earthquake is not supposed to happen because if in Himalaya basically earthquake will happen, then basically the entire most of basically the Noida and Uttar Pradesh and Delhi is going to affect basically. But mostly basically the Noida and Uttar Pradesh is going to. That depends upon whom basically. That depends upon the energy company who are controlling everything basically. So here one of the question basically arise, or basically few discussion basically on the base of few discussion basically. I reached to one conclusion that basically when the 50 city 150 55 country basically was created, in that country basically one of the countries India. So when big earthquake basically is going to happen, they are basically getting processed on the base of 50 countries. It is getting merged to some country, it plays to one country, and flush earthquake basically comes into the picture. Flush of earthquake basically, that also you can say. Flush means earthquake is not supposed to happen. When that comes into the picture, then flush happens or basically doesn't happen basically. That is also question basically. Because by chance basically in India basically after 2 days basically the earthquake will happen basically by chance basically. So few people say that basically they can be that can be shift to some other country na basically. Because India basically has lots of friends, lots of friends are there basically. In China basically see 20 percentage Indians basically are staying. See in America 35 percentage 30 percentage American Indians are basically there. See in Europe basically there are 35 percentage Indian basically. See in UAE basically there mostly basically I think 70 percentage are Indian basically. So one of the person told that whatever the process basically happens of the 55 country na basically on the base of that basically daily basically the earthquake energy gets generates. That is 100% sure. Because 55 country to do the this is one group basically. So one of the person told that how these groups are decided basically. This is also question basically. How who actually decides this group? So that basically we have already discussed that 35 people basically are there who are handling the entire India, and basically many countries basically they are handling. They are basically the international level groups basically. They decides which area supposed to get earthquake, because process happens, and India basically is development basically has started since when basically. Then see Bangalore city basically. It's a full of IT basically. See Pune basically, Hinjawadi, and many park basically are created. See in Mumbai city basically, and now basically Mumbai is getting more basically enhanced basically, enhanced word basically to us. Three Mumbai basically is getting created. One is Mumbai, then the Navi Mumbai created. Now basically one more Mumbai is getting created basically. Then metro city basically see, sorry, the metropolitan metro train, bullet train, this train, that train. These are not development basically. So in 55 country basically India is also basically getting in development stage. Basically. So the process is happening basically. It's not like that the process is not happening. The process is happening. But in this process basically, the energy company know that basically which all products basically are already created. Here basically we will say as a smart city. Smart city is one product basically. So it's a Ahmedabad city basically. Ahmedabad city has given as a name as smart city. So that basically given name, that means the creation is already, most of the creation basically is happened. Few creation basically might be pending. But the smart city is already given the name. So the creation basically mostly might have happened. So this city basically will be going to be taken as a process. So in India basically, how many areas are going to be taken as a process in that 55 countries? So one of the person told that if process is happening of the particular area, then earthquake is also going to affect to that particular areas only basically. And their investment is only going to save them basically. In this basically the banks are playing the most dangerous role. And in this basically banks keeps on telling that basically do investment, do investment. The people who has having the job only, they only basically can do the investment. The people who is not having job, they basically can do the investment. For example, myself basically, I can't do the investment basically. So there is no role in basically on Ahmedabad, in smart city. Basically, I don't have any role. Basically. So one of the person told that the process of earthquake basically is happening in India country. So India country with the 35 people basically who has control, who is basically controlling the India, they decides basically that earthquake in India is supposed to happen or basically not supposed to happen. So one of the person told that this mostly basically 35 people basically might not be in front of India. In front of the India is SBI. If anybody goes more detail, then it will connect to RBI. And more detail basically, international level detail, then it will connect to World Bank basically. More than that basically nobody can connect. Because when you are tracking anything basically, the tracking device is already there basically. They tracks that this person basically is doing something basically, is trying to connect to 35 people basically. So they will immediately basically do something that he will break, his chain gets break basically. So that basically he can't reach to this 35 people basically. So you can just imagine this 35 group has created SBI Bank. In SBI Bank, basically the big banks like Citibank, they basically have 50 lakh crore. So 50 lakh crore basically is a normal amount basically. It's a huge investment basically. RBI like bank is there. And if international level goes, then the World Bank is there basically. So anybody will try to track to this 35 people basically. Immediately that person will get tracked basically. and immediately basically they takes the action basically. That how basically he tracked us basically. That is not possible here basically. How basically he tracked and how basically one of the person tracked that basically SBI basically have one account in a city, one account in sorry SBI have sorry Citibank basically have one account in SBI. Like this basically 500 banks are there basically. How basically this was tracked basically? How this was tracked basically? That was also one of the question basically. So one of the person told that it's very dangerous thing basically, which SBI groups are doing basically, because it's going to affect to entire nationality. If anybody will say that basically the set of precedents basically are created by SBI group and they are the customer of SBI, then it will convert to third world war. Basically. It will convert to third world war. And mostly basically it will not happen because everything basically is handled on the base of business basically. But then also basically you can't take the chance. But 30 percentage people basically are staying in America. So they might be contributing something to America basically. So America will never say that basically you leave India basically. Sorry, leave America basically. Why? Because they are contributing, they are doing the investment, they are doing everything, they are doing contributing in each and everything basically. Lots of MLAs basically are lots of big post basically people basically are American basically. Just now basically they have started basically. They have not started basically the world war is going to start and basically America will get in trouble for that for that purpose basically they have not done that basically. They are American basically. They believe in peace basically first, then basically they start the war. First they believe in peace, then basically they start the war. So it's like that. And they say that basically India is the most peace country. So that's why basically 30 percentage people basically are Indian basically. And in Europe basically 30 percentage people are Indian in Europe basically. And in Russia also basically lots of Indians basically are there. It's not like that basically. Because lots of Bollywood people basically has done the relationship with Russia long before basically. Long before basically they have done the relationship with Russian basically. It's not like that basically nothing has done like that. Basically. So in Russia also basically lots of Indian origin basically are there. So this is little bit about the SBI bank basically. But SBI bank have to think lot of things basically. That is also 100% sure. So one of the person told that this type of thing basically track basically who can track that basically. That is not possible basically that anybody can track that SBI basically have Citibank, SBI basically have HDFC Bank, HDFC, SBI basically have President's Bank basically. HDFC have the future president's accounts. Sorry, SBI Bank basically have future president's groups account basically. So you can just imagine basically how they are connected with the set of future tasks basically. Few people says that basically future tasks are divided when when the accounts basically are into the SBI bank, future residents groups SBI bank basically. That means the task is already ready basically. Set of tasks basically are already designed basically. Set of tasks basically are already designed and they are going to be implemented basically. That's why basically they have the group account basically, the future president group account basically. According to that only basically they have na basically. Otherwise basically they will have the account basically. That is not possible. Basically. Amount has allocated, Like the project basically when gets started, the resources are allocated, and then basically the according to the task basically the resources are allocated, and the resources are already mapped with the costing basically. So there basically they don't have to go to the costing side. So resources allocated, cost is automatically allocated. So like this basically the SBI bank has already allocated the future president groups resources data basically, and each resources basically is costing how much they have basically already decided basically. According to that basically the banks may also basically might be decided that you basically the future bank sorry future president basically of America, Europe basically, the amount is going to be credited or debited from that account. So you can just imagine, because SBI basically never interfere directly basically, and this is very dangerous also because it's going to impact to entire bank basically. For example, European president debit credit happens from Citibank. So it is going, it's a very, 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 very dangerous account, basically, you can say. Citibank in SBI Bank. Because it's connecting to the European president's future task and their resources basically and their amounts basically which has allocated. So you can just imagine basically how dangerous SBI Bank is. So here number one topic was this, and this will we will be keeping discussing. Second number is Amazon basically. Amazon mostly basically we things basically we have discussed. But little bit technical basically we will discuss. In technical basically Amazon assume that basically Amazon got one project. So just see up to what level Amazon basically is. Amazon is up to what level basically you will get from this idea, which I am going to discuss. Assume that basically certain basically level of war happened, and in that basically lots of area got destroyed. And everybody knows that basically text box equal to thousand cities. Text box equal to thousand cities. That also everybody knows. But text box equal to thousand cities. But one of the person told that we want to exactly know that basically text box equal to thousand cities, but which all area basically are destroyed. Text box equal to thousand cities, okay. But which all area basically has destroyed? That basically we want to know. So that is possible. Amazon they basically asked the question. So they told that basically we have lots of API basically. From that basically we when we will run that API, that time basically the missing uh, missing whatever basically the commands or basically user controls or basically you can say the DLLs or basically whatever which is connected to the physical place directly. Directly means it's not going to connect to directly this to particular land basically. Up to that level basically they are not done. They are going to connect to the power data basically. They have the set of live power data. From that basically they can track that basically that this whole area basically are missing. Because in this world basically there is no technology other than satellite group basically have the control that if you will run this program it will directly connect to that land basically. That type of computer group basically has not created yet basically. But satellite group basically have the permission. Because you are in the land basically. And within land basically if you are in the land basically and you are doing the programming of land basically, that is not acceptable because you can't say that basically from running this API basically we want to control that basically text box equal to thousand cities, and from that thousand cities how many areas basically are finished. So this type of thing basically Amazon group basically knows that basically. So few people says that Amazon group basically might be doing this type of problem solving basically because it's a huge basically dangerous thing basically. From that basically he got little bit control of text box equal to thousand cities basically, and he got the control of text box equal to thousand cities. That means he got that 1,000 city business also basically. He basically thought up to this level basically. You can just imagine basically. 1,000 cities business if one shopping website basically gets, then you can just imagine basically up to what level business Amazon basically might be doing. From that just API creation basically. So that's why basically few people say that Amazon basically is having their own software centers also. Many software companies basically are having, but mostly basically they are dummy owners basically. Dummy owners means that person basically which is sitting there basically he is a owner, but really basically Amazon is the owner. So like this basically things are basically controlled, and like this basically they gets the business also basically. From that just API basically he got 1,000 cities business basically. You can just imagine basically, and it's a huge basically business. You can't and by solving this problem he gets the business. So one of the person told that nowadays like this also basically business are basically grabbed. The business are taken from the countries, from the governments. And now this is little bit about the Amazon basically. And Amazon basically what they do that basically we have already discussed in the previous video. So here basically I will not repeat that basically. AWS web service takes the money from clients and give little bit rent to the consultant who are basically into the services giving side with it. And they basically sometimes purchase the services also, and they implements into their company basically. That are the dummy software companies created. Not dummy software companies created, but dummy owner basically are there. Dummy software company not really basically. It's a software company created. And in software company, dummy owner basically are. So you can just imagine. This is also a little bit about the Amazon group basically. Now basically coming back to the earthquake which is going to happen in India. Big earthquake basically going to happen in India after 2 days. In really basically it's not going to happen. Here basically I'm just discussing basically because I am in India. So I'm discussing about India basically. If I would be in Singapore, then basically I would be discussing about the Singapore. So one of the person told that one of the person told that Sunil basically you told that basically after 2 days the earthquake is going to happen. But we have the data of 55 city basically, sorry, 55 country basically when it was created. Na, in that creation basically, as per the creation, the earthquake magnitude is getting processed, and in that process basically, the India is going to get India is getting how much magnitude of earthquake. That magnitude is getting placed in India land, and that flush magnitude basically, so sorry, flush earthquake data is coming as an energy format. Everybody knows that basically what is earthquake. Tectonic plates, everything basically that is in front of the world. But in real, basically, the energy companies are handling the earthquakes. That basically we have already discussed. And in that, basically, lots of videos also basically I have uploaded what actually the earthquakes are. What earthquakes are. Basically. So in each video, basically, there are many projects basically which are getting created. Many Scrum projects are getting created. Many agile methodology projects are getting created. Many waterfall methodology projects are getting created. Lots of projects basically are. If you will watch the video basically very carefully, each video basically contains minimum basically 2 to 3 projects. That also new projects which does not exist in the world only basically. You can say, in the market basically of the software industry, and mostly basically are related to Scrum and waterfall. That is the agile and waterfall. So one of the person told that after 2 days the earthquake is going to come. This is nothing basically. 55 countries are getting processed. India got that magnitude of earthquake data placed in India somewhere where basically that we don't know basically where basically they place the, because when earthquake happens, so which side basically the destruction basically energies are basically dumped, or basically you can say replaced, that also you can say the destruction basically you can say as earth, unstable data basically unstable data are replaced in the um, replaced in the place of stable data. So when the data are replaced, it replaces the data and the earthquake happens. So you can just imagine basically the dangerous stuff. Basically. So one of the person told that it's very dangerous. Yeah. So daily earthquake happens. Daily flush data also basically happens. And in that flush data basically the earthquake data gets flushed. And flush means, for example, earthquake matrix is like this. This is the design of earthquake. Earthquake means earthquake is not supposed to be. That is the stable data. And in between, basically, little bit unstable data came and it basically dumped into certain area. Basically. And that unstable data, according to that, basically, that, for example, there are 1 lakh city in India. So, design of basically 1 lakh city is basically like this. So that the stable data are basically like this design. That is the earthquake design basically. You can say earthquake is not supposed to happen in 1 lakh city. Now basically one more data basically was created when you place that data into the 1 lakh city energy basic. That is the earthquake is not supposed to happen. That basically you can say earthquake stable data. When you replace this earthquake unstable data with, sorry, when you replace the earthquake stable data with earthquake unstable data, then which all these unstable data basically are going to connect to how many cities basically. Up to that level basically the minor level earthquake designs basically are designed, because that city basically is not supposed to affect, this city is supposed to affect. So these all are basically design of the earthquake basically are. You can't imagine basically up to how powerful the technologies are basically. This Amazon group basically can understand why, because they have created the text box equal to 1,000 cities, and due to some reason basically the certain area basically got damaged, and how basically you will track basically that how many land area basically was damaged. So you can just imagine basically up to what level the world has reached. And this everything is done also. That is also, that is the main thing. So one of the person told that earthquake is not supposed to happen. Earthquake is supposed to happen for that basically. Sorry, earthquake is not supposed to happen. For that basically many groups basically are giving the money. Basically. It's not like that basically they are not giving. Governments are giving the money. Lots of groups basically are giving the money. So you can just imagine basically how states of India basically nowadays basically the 39 states, more than 39 states basically exist. To control that 39 states, up to what level certain groups are doing. That is the 35 people basically. 35 people basically are created in India. They are doing the stable and unstable data process basically. Stable data, unstable data. Stable data, unstable data. This is stable data, this is unstable data. So you can just imagine. This also basically we have already discussed that this is stable and how unstable data are basically ended. So just replace the stable data with unstable data. Earthquake happened basically. And design the stable earthquake data. That means stable earthquake data means it will not happen earthquake. And here basically we have taken the example of 1,000 buildings of the Microsoft basically corporation got the contract. That earthquake is not supposed to happen in that 1,000 buildings. So you can just imagine basically, if I am telling that 1,000 buildings, that means earthquakes are connected up to this level. Na, basically. Earthquakes are connected up to this level basically. Cities, areas, states, up to that level the earthquakes are connected. So in next video basically we are going to see a little bit more about the SBI banks data, Amazon groups, and after 2 days in India basically big earthquake is going to come. In real, basically, earthquake is not going to come. Just taking as an example, basically. So next video, basically, we are going to see that